game. It's a rich thing.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about buyout options for the Chicago Bulls. Again, until that buyout season is kind of over and done with and we have the team that we want, or if we don't pursue anything in the buyout market, I'm going to keep on trying to get a little bit more of those options from the buyouts and kind of to talk about them one-on-one individually and see whether or not they would be useful as a potential buyout for the Chicago Bulls. So today we're going to be talking about Goran Dragic and what he could bring to the Chicago Bulls team, as we were previously linked to him a couple of days ago. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the current Chicago Bulls situation and who would you like to see bought out from this team and who would you like to see brought into this team from the buyout market, obviously. So with all those things being said, let's talk about Goran Dragic. We were obviously linked to him a few days ago. He obviously got traded from the Raptors to the San Antonio Spurs, and there's still a possibility that he could be bought out for the remainder of the season, which means that someone that is interested in the Chicago Bulls might have an opportunity to pursue a player like Goran Dragic. There's a lot of positives and negatives that comes to adding Goran Dragic onto this team, and again, especially this season as well, where it's been by far not been his best season throughout the total of, I guess, his NBA career. This is one of his worst seasons for a variety of reasons. But with that being said, this season alone, he's averaging 8 points per game, 2.8 rebounds, 1.8 assists, shooting career lows in field goal percentage and from the three-point line, with 38% from the field and 28% from the three-point line. Safe to say, it's not his best, I guess, game or best season for his NBA season, but obviously there's something that does come with a little bit of an asterisk next to his name, and that is he's only played 5 games this season for the Toronto Raptors. So those numbers don't also necessarily reflect what he could potentially be on any other team, but the Toronto Raptors kind of refused to play him from the very beginning, and therefore he didn't exactly make an impact with that team and for his NBA season. That's a positive and a negative to me, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, Goran Dragic is now in a new situation with the San Antonio Spurs. I guess the first thing to talk about is whether or not we can see Goran Dragic getting bought out for the San Antonio Spurs. In my opinion, it's a bit of a yes and a no answer. For example, obviously, they recently traded Derek White, the San Antonio Spurs. They traded him away, and he was obviously a good player for the San Antonio Spurs. But then also, you bring in Goran Dragic, and maybe it's someone that can add a little bit of depth in the guard position for the Spurs and could definitely allow obviously him to kind of thrive in that situation. You always think of certain types of guys that would be San Antonio Spurs types of guys, and I've always thought about Goran Dragic, again, a lot of European players, but also the style of play that he plays in. I think he would suit the San Antonio Spurs very well. So in terms of that retrospect, I could definitely see him staying on the San Antonio Spurs for the remainder of the season, but obviously the San Antonio Spurs are heading in a different direction to probably what Goran Dragic wants. I think at this stage of his career, Goran Dragic wants to be in a winning situation. He wants to be in contention for something. He wants to be in the playoffs and everything of that nature. And the San Antonio Spurs doesn't necessarily guarantee that for Goran Dragic. So in that area, I could definitely see Goran Dragic wanting to be bought out from the San Antonio Spurs. So I guess it just depends on what he wants out of his season, what the Spurs want. Obviously, up at the end of the day, it's the Spurs' choice. It doesn't really matter what Goran Dragic has to say. But all in all, I could definitely see a possibility of them keeping him, but I can also see a possibility of them buying him out. When it comes to Goran Dragic, we know what he can bring. He's 35 years old at the end of the day. He's had a lot of seasons in the NBA. We know what he brings to the table. We know he's a very intelligent player. We know he has games where he can simply go off and score a bunch of points for any team that he plays for. We know that he's crafty. He can get his assist numbers up for sure if he plays consistent minutes. And I think he could fit a team system very well. All of these things are very positive for Goran Dragic. And with 5 games played this season, giving him an opportunity alone could give him that, I guess, point to prove type of situation, because he's not had enough opportunities to prove that he can still be valuable to a team. So coming in to a situation where we don't exactly have a lot of guards on this team at the moment, they're all currently out. Again, you're looking at Lonzo and you're looking at Alex Caruso, two big players out for the Chicago Bulls. You could definitely say we need some guard help, and we could use a backup point guard at the moment for the Chicago Bulls and allow Kobe White to be more of that off-ball guard. So bringing in Goran Dragic for some help could be a very good idea, with obviously his mentality and the point to prove for his season. I guess the negative is, of course, he's not going to be trusted. Very similar to a lot of the guys on this team already. He's not going to be trusted because of the lack of game time that he's played and the consistency in which he's played in. Guys like Tony Bradley, I think many of us can't trust him. Tyler Cook, many of us can't trust him. And they don't get consistent game time because of that lack of trust. Goran Dragic obviously wasn't trusted by the Toronto Raptors, and obviously there was a bit of him not wanting to be there as well that kind of stopped them from playing him. All of those things play a big factor, but again, not really trusted to play a lot of games. That's a negative for him. And of course, his age, maybe he doesn't have enough left in the tank to kind of prove what he could do on the floor for the Chicago Bulls and for any team I guess he could play on. Maybe the age is catching up with him, and maybe he just doesn't have that much to produce. Maybe he can't average what he's been averaging all of his career with those 14-point per games and 5 assists games. That's the majority of his career. That's the type of player that he's been all of his, pretty much his NBA career. And maybe he just can't do it like that anymore. But for the Chicago Bulls, I feel like this is definitely something we should look into. I guess that's my final answer. Should we sign Goran Dragic from a buyout? My answer is, I think it'd be very worthwhile if we could do that. First things first, we talk about depth in this team. And I think we've seen the depth is good when everybody's healthy. But when everybody's not healthy, there's not enough good bench players on this team. Goran Dragic, again, is someone that barely plays for the Toronto Raptors. But when he would come here, he would have at least 3 to 4 weeks of basketball where he would be playing for the Chicago Bulls. And for whatever reason, it's a security blanket if someone else get injured during that playoff time. We can have a somewhat reliable guard coming in playoff situations, has experience in the playoffs before, knows how to run a team, has been doing it as a starter for most of his career. He could come in off of our bench and run our team. That's very important to me. And again, I think he's a lot better of an asset than players like Matt Thomas can be for the Chicago Bulls, because he's been there before and he knows how to run the team. And that's very important. It's a really important aspect to undergo. And we talk about that depth. He adds depth. He's going to be the 4th, 5th option guard when everybody's fully healthy. And it's good to know that when someone is injured or someone is not really playing well, you can bring Goran Dragic into the team and he can somewhat make a difference on certain nights. That's a really positive thing in my opinion. And I think he's better than what we have. Again, looking at Matt Thomas as the guy to really compare him to, because I don't see him replacing Kobe White, and I don't see him replacing Io, Caruso, or Lonzo either. I think all those guys are ahead of Goran Dragic. But as a 3rd choice, 4th choice point guard, that's as best of depth as you're going to get. An older player that has been through it before and knows what it takes to get to a really important stage of his career, to get to a really important stage in the playoffs as well. Experience is very key, and sometimes we can use that experience. And I think experience in the guard position could be very valuable, because Lonzo's obviously 23 years old as well, and Io is still a rookie. Having a little bit of experience that you can rely on is also something that could be very valuable. That's my video, ladies and gentlemen. I think we should go after Goran Dragic if he's available. Again, we need all the guard help we can get at the moment. If he gets bought out tomorrow, I hope the Bulls are signing the contract the next day. That's truly how I feel about that situation, because we do need trusted players. Matt Thomas has not been playing recently because the lack of trust. Again, Matt Thomas is one of those guys. He's the 15th man. He's in here for emergencies, but he's not been playing very well when he has to step up. And I think Goran Dragic could do better. So I would definitely sign Goran Dragic. Obviously, he's not my first choice. I still would pursue a backup center first. I would still pursue a power forward if we can first. If those options are available for us to go and pursue at this point in time, I would do it first over Goran Dragic. But if Goran Dragic, again, gets bought out tomorrow, gets bought out next week, and that's the first guy that we're really interested in and that we want, I would definitely really consider that as an option for the Chicago Bulls. I like the player. I wouldn't want him as my starting point guard. I remember talking about him as a potential option, and I said it'd be a good bench option, but I wouldn't want him as a starter. I wouldn't trust him in that area anymore. But as a good, experienced third option point guard, I think you can't get any better than a player like Goran Dragic. So let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next one, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.